In a showcase of the Boerhaven Science Museum in Leiden is a special instrument, a glass tube in a metal holder with a screw and above the edge a kind of peephole through which microscope lenses can be slit. This so-called Eel-viewer was invented by van Leeuwenhoek, who became famous for his self-made microscopes and countless discoveries. Yet nothing seems to have filled him so much with pride as this eel-viewer. A live glass eel, a young eel, is hung upside down in the glass tube filled with water. The lens is focused on the transparent tail fin. This is where tiny blood vessels run. With this instrument, van Leeuwenhoek was able to show others what he himself had already discovered with his normal microscopes by studying gills from tadpoles. Blood sucks through those kegs, the definitive and visible proof of the existence of a blood circulation. By writing about this phenomenon and showing it in this way to his contemporaries, he contributed to ending all the misunderstandings that existed about it in his time. May 29, 1688. Anthony van Leeuwenhoek, 56 years old, cloth merchant, surveyor of the municipal officials and self-taught scientist, goes for a walk in the vicinity of his hometown of Delft. A contemporary, the researcher Jan Swammerdam, has aroused his interest in frogs and tadpoles, named worm frogs. Swammerdam has described the entire development from eggs via tadpoles to frogs, with beautiful illustrations. He makes short work of the prevailing notion that humble organisms such as insects and frogs spontaneously arise from rotten waste. Everything in God's creation is connected and seems to be listening to the same laws. It is a Christian obligation to study all the invisible. Van Leeuwenhoek thinks he can see much more with his microscopes than Swammerdam with the naked eye. He writes that Swammerdam has not observed a head on the young frog that has turned from an egg into a worm makes sense, because he has not studied it through his magnifying glass. On both sides of the head he sees translucent hanging parts, and in each of them, with great pleasure, very clearly the circulation of the blood. Also in the membranes between the legs he sees a very large crowd of very small blood vessels, and he sees the blood clearly circulating. Blood seems to consist of colorless balls and moves with the beat of the heart. When I came to examine the tail of this little worm, that amusing sight surpassed all the considerations that my eyes had seen of their lives. For here I discovered more than 50 circulars of blood, in special places. If only I could bring the animal to my delight in the water and lying still in front of the magnifying glass. Van Leeuwenhoek describes everything he discovers in letters that he addresses to the prestigious Royal Society. As soon as I looked at the hind legs and the membranes that are between the fingers, I saw the blood circulating there in a crowd of very tiny blood vessels. And at the fish market opposite his house, he buys purse, bream, pike and roach. He would like to share his grandiose discovery with others, and to that end he invites prominent gentlemen. But the fish do not cooperate. They struggle too much, die prematurely, get damaged. Van Leeuwenhoek comes up with a solution and on January 12, 1689, a letter to the Royal Society with accompanying detailed drawings explains how the members themselves can make an eel-viewer. Because the Royal Society for some time appears to have stopped publishing his letters, he has a booklet made about it himself. Den waarachtigen omloop des bloeds. A nice souvenir for his visitors. Van Leeuwenhoek has discovered a great deal with his microscopic research, from bacteria to sperm cells and red blood cells. But really looking into a living organism seemed to have made the biggest impression on him. I do not believe that there are fountains on this earth, made by humans or by nature, that would give me such a pleasing spectacle as worm frogs and eels.